Well, today I'm with my friend Tript Singh Lamba. He's the CEO and founder of ProductNow.ai. And before starting ProductNow, he was the chief product officer of Expedia and Google's head of product for YouTube ads. His startup ProductNow.ai is known as the AI operating system for product and engineering. And it's one intelligence system that connects every workflow, aligns every team, and accelerates product velocity. So, Tript, it's great to have you today.
Thank you, Walter. Glad to be here.
Well, let's start out with the problem that you're solving. I know that you were head of product. You said somewhere that you built the product for yourself. Is that correct?
That's right. I vibe coded the first few versions for myself. The best way to think about this is I've lived the pain for 2 decades, and I finally said, this is enough. I should go solve for this. So the problem we solve is there's just a massive speed asymmetry in how software gets built today, right? If you think about it, AI transformed engineering completely. On one hand, you have vibe coding like Replit and Lovable. And on the other hand, you have IDEs like Claude, Copilot, Cursor. And engineers are shipping 3 to 5 times faster, 10 times faster. But everything upstream of code, the stuff that I ran, strategy, requirements, roadmaps, alignment, that's still done in a very old school,
Hmm.
legacy, archaic way. That still runs duct taped on meetings or documents, Slack threads, Gmail, spreadsheets. And a PM can spend north of 50% of their time on this coordination tax. And this causes engineering to accelerate, but the rest of the product org is the bottleneck. So you got teams that can build in a week, but they spend a month deciding why and what to build. You've got teams that are vibe coding 9 times, 10 times, but none of that gets deployed. It's languishing undeployed because it doesn't meet the business intent. The product side never got its copilot. And that is the problem we solve.
Got it. Okay. Now I've also heard you say that like reduced times, like what's a typical time? It was like days down to minutes as far as like turnaround time on certain things. Can you talk about that a bit?
Sure. So when we talk about intelligence and insights and context, we can see things that used to take 2 to 3 weeks now are always on, continuously refreshed, and is sub 2 minutes to fetch that information. For creation of artifacts, it could be a week to a month, depending on the mode. Some documents are very high speed. You just need to get something to your boss or a peer within that day or within an hour. And that takes way, way lesser time, a few minutes. Or you can have agents do deep work, and what used to take a week or two for an MDR or a quarterly business report or a board meeting, compressed down to 1 hour of work. So we're
Nice.
seeing an order of magnitude improvement there.
And so is it like one dashboard that everyone kind of has the same visibility to, or how does that look for the end user?
That's a great question. So think of it as an AI native operating system for human agent teams. And we've deployed specialized AI agents in 3 domains, right? They handle your actual workflows. The first is your system of context, the intelligence, the insights that understands not only the knowledge cutoff of LLMs, but they can also do a web search for you. They're grounded in your org reality, your chat clients, your Jiras and Confluence, your Asanas, your G Drive and OneDrive. They do not start from zero every time. The second domain of agents is enterprise grade outputs. These are drafts you don't have to rewrite. The
Mm.
artifacts you can ship, like product requirements, strategy like a McKinsey or a BCG level consultant, a roadmap planning like a really senior program manager. And then finally, alignment is a first class primitive. We've built in to the platform, I think, a pretty unique set of features that compresses disagreement. Instead of 5 meetings to align on a doc, you can get a decision ready artifact ready to ship that's surfacing the right trade offs, that's forcing clarity. And one of the testimonials we get a lot sounds like, hey, what used to take a team now takes one tab, or I can do a whole week's worth of work in 1 hour.
Got it. And I also heard you say that product owners are spending a lot of time just duplicating documents and updating in different systems, like you just mentioned. So with this, it's instant updates, like real time.
That's right. So we see 2 modes, and we've deliberately embraced the bimodal nature of this problem. On one hand, there's a desire to go very fast, high speed, and just generate this doc now and transform it into all of the child documents. So you could have a
Mhm.
parent product requirements doc, but it needs to get into work item breakdowns. It needs to become tickets. It needs to become Slack threads to all the engineers working on a problem. So we do that in a fairly autonomous way. And on the other hand, we have this high pride of authorship, requires extreme craft, judgment, where the agent works side by side helping you tune every section down to the last word. The personalization is per section per user. So it knows how Walter writes exact summaries and use cases versus Tript or somebody else.
Hmm.
And it remembers it over time. So there's definitely a speed improvement. There's also freeing up the human to kind of, once the burdensome, grungy work is done by agents, the humans free up for creativity and judgment and more strategic thinking.
Got it. I also saw you mention SOC 2 and different security things that you have to think about. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we are enterprise first. And to that extent, thinking about security very methodically from day one was a first principle. It was a requirement. We've gone for the compliance, as you mentioned, around SOC 2. We've also got architectures where we debate, are we on-prem or cloud? Are we no copy or copy, depending on the client and collaborator requirements? We are very thoughtful about the embeddings, the vectors, the context graph for the organization and how it's secured down and locked down. Um, it's easy to get lost, or an agent can retrieve things that were never intended for one agent, right? So we've got a very deep permissioning model. A lot of our engineers have a deep background from Palantir, and they bring that security mindset to the problem on day one, which is we're very fortunate to have that.
So thinking about like the day in the life of a product owner. So if you now, move yourself into the future and you're using this product now, what does that look like? And what are the greatest accelerators in your role?
Sure. So at a meta level, if you think of it, SaaS 1 was cloud apps, SaaS 2, which I kind of lived through, and you lived through, it was multiplayer collaboration in Notion, Figma, Slack. And SaaS 3 is where we are. The agents can now kind of do most of the work where the human steers is at the wheel. But the day in the life of looks fundamentally different right now. And I think it'll look even more different in SaaS 4. So right now, in terms of intelligence gathering and insights, I, as a practitioner, would probably set up 10, 30, and 15 meetings over 2 weeks, collect all that information, synthesize it in some meaningful insight, and get access to a gazillion, a billion SQL dashboards that now have to query, or a dozen SQL dashboards that I have to query, that I may not know how to query under pressure every single time. Here, the agents have done all the work. Your customer signals are surfaced. In orgs where a reorg or a departure has lost context, there is no lost context. The agents have decision
Mhm.
context and intelligence context, why we made choices. Moving on to creation, all these insights can now be drafted in a template of your choice, which meets the org requirement. It could be a PRD, it could be a SWOT, it could be a PRFAQ, like the Amazon case, whatever your template, your chosen output is. And the beauty of it is transforming from one output to another is very, very easy. It's one click. So you can go from PRD to sprint planning to tickets in one continuous flow. That initiative, it would normally mean 3 meetings, 3 artifacts. We've also compressed disagreement really, really nicely. So think agents that can do decisions, trade-offs, pros and cons. They can synthesize comments. Like you have a 50-page doc with 200 comments. It's going to synthesize the sources of healthy tension that you must discuss. And you can do it in an async way. What used to take 3 meetings now takes one.
Mhm.
Trade-offs are visible. Teams are green and aligned to their business outcomes, not just a local maxima for their OKR. It's aligned to the business goals of the organization. And the decisions are made and decisions are followed up. Agents follow up on decisions. That's a side benefit, right? When I made decisions or you made decisions, they would get lost in Slack or Docs or email. Here, the agent remembers. So we fundamentally transformed the workflow of intelligence to creation to alignment. And that experience is much more natural. And this is where PMs have given us really stellar testimonials and reviews, the number of tasks they can do, the happiness and satisfaction with the platform.
Let's talk a little bit about that. So, if there was a customer example without giving any names or anything like that, but if you just think of the before state and the after state, what would you say for one of your ideal customers?
Yeah, so I think in terms of intelligence gathering, what used to take, this is a famous ads platform. Um, what used to take 30 PMs, about 2 to 4 weeks to synthesize across many, many, many advertisers, now takes less than an hour. They can come in and see their voice of customer in a dashboard that they can query, asking all sorts of questions with a very powerful agent interface. They can create those into artifacts by team, by user, by persona. Like what goes to your lawyer is different from your engineer and is different from your VP. And that creation is purpose built. People can talk to that new creation Like, hey, what are the top three things that matter to me as an engineer? This is a long doc. I don't have time to read it. And, and we've taken the alignment process, and there's something magical about how humans align when you focus on what matters. And we've experienced this inside product now. While we dog food our own development, we've experienced this in microcultures where there's just a fundamental capacity gap product is not meeting, right? Your strategic ambition exceeds your product capacity. And anytime you have that environment, they love this kind of AI augmentation on alignment.
Cool.
So
So the benefits to the businesses and your ideal customers is much faster releases and less headaches and capturing all the knowledge and not losing anything, having the context, everything like that.
100%. So velocity for sure. And we've seen this in the meta programming of AI agents in the coding environment. In addition to velocity, we've started getting some interesting kudos around this helped me institutionalize excellence in an organization, right? Every now and then, people write docs and do workflows in their own way. The agents do everything in the same way. That's the beauty
Mm,
of it. So you've kind of like built a playbook and it's repeatable. And the one thing that we've started sniffing and experiencing recently is most orgs do not have AI native talent. I mean, you're a boutique niche recruiter for the top who's and who's of the valley. Finding AI native talent, which has experience, is grounded in skills, is very, very hard.
mhm.
But what if we can give them a set of agents that behave like an AI native PM at a FANG? And we do that. We do evals, we do AI PRDs, we do a bunch of that stuff. So you can take your old school org and make them AI first, if not AI native, on day one within 30 minutes. And that's something that we're experiencing a lot more in the last couple of months.
Cool. So talking about organizations and sizes and everything, what's the ideal prospect size for you? Do you have to have a certain number of team members before it gets so complex that you must have your service, or can anybody benefit from it?
We've seen single player kudos, right? People who just use it to get their stuff out, and definitely a lot of friends who work with us to co-create it in that mode in Q4. But the ideal prospect or the ideal ICP is a company with 50 plus engineers where product, program, strategy, project is the constraint on shipping speed. Specifically, we work really well with product led enterprises and companies where the PM to eng ratio is already stretched, where the backlog of work is so big that it exceeds capacity, right? Leadership is bored or leadership is asking, why are we going slow? Like, even though Eng can go fast, of course, engineering can go fast. So think Series C through Fortune 100. Our design partners right now are across verticals. So we have fintech, we have retail, we have B2B, B2C. It's not about vertical or industry. It's that they have more product ambition than product capacity.
So I heard you mention some new and exciting advisors that just came on. So can you talk about those a bit?
Yeah, we are very fortunate. So one thing that we've been really blessed by is the quality of advisors. Our angel investors are all FANG and frontier model execs. We're very fortunate to be partnering with Sierra and Parameter VC, where we've got a conglomerate of industry leaders helping us co-create the solution. The two that I'm excited to announce, we've got Professor Suraj Srinivasan from Harvard Business School, stellar 2 decade career in Harvard Business School. He's a luminary in the world of AI advisory across governments and private sector. So really, really fortunate to have him. We've also signed up Professor Jonathan Levav, who teaches the world on how to become a chief product officer. A lot of CPOs the world over come. I was a student once, and a lot of people come and experience what is Silicon Valley doing on the bleeding edge that we can take back to our niche or our part of the world, right? So the CPO of BMW, the CPO of Nike, the CPO of an Asian company, so on and so forth. And he's come in and we are thinking about what does AI first, AI native product evolve into? What does this new builder role look like when it's augmented with AI? And he's been helping us do what he does best, which is create products that people love.
So what's the best way for people to get in touch and learn more?
Sure. So I'm on LinkedIn. I talk about SaaS 1, SaaS 2, SaaS 3 quite a bit. And if you want to leapfrog your competition and you are a product or eng leader who's been feeling the gap that I talked about, the speed gap, like my engineers are going faster, but others are not. Please reach out. If you're an investor who's looking at AI in the enterprise, I'd love to compare notes on where the real leverage is beyond code generation. Right, that leverage is now commodity.
Hmm. Well, Tripp, this has been awesome learning about Product Now. So I'm very excited about continuing to watch the progress and growth of the company and really glad that you joined us today.
Thank you so much for having me, Walter, and thank you for doing everything you do for the community.